What's up, Amazon sellers? If your price is slowly tumbling down when you are competing against Amazon or maybe other third-party sellers, this is the video for you. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you some top tips that's going to help protect your business, support you in getting that price back up again, and save you from this dreaded pain going forward. So stay tuned. Okay, so if you don't know who I am, my name is Thomas Parkinson, and quite frankly, right now I'm on a mission to do £1 million over 18 months, pretty much by the end of 2021. I'll drop a link up there so you can have a look at that. But today, quite simply, we're going through price wars. So starting off, I'm going to go through what is a price war. Number two, I'm going to talk about when you're in a price war against Amazon, what can you do? And then I'm going to give you some top tips about what to look for when you're competing against Amazon in the future. That's maybe going to stop you getting into a price war in the first place. I'll then give you some top tips what to do if you're in a price war with other Amazon sellers. And finally, I'm going to share some top tips of how to prevent a price war going forward. So stay tuned. We'll go through that. Have some coffee. I love my coffee. I think I'm going to need some more. Okay, so first things first, what is a price war? If you're just starting out on Amazon, or maybe you've been selling on Amazon some time, you've probably heard about price wars, penny underprices, penny pinchers. These are times when your prices just start tumbling down. There's a lot of competition, or there can be, on the Amazon marketplace, and that obviously can affect prices. Now, due to the very nature of the way Amazon works, say for example, if you are selling a product, you can have multiple sellers on one listing. And generally speaking, if all other factors are the same, the one thing that dictates who wins the buy box, which is really important, who wins that buy box is going to predominantly be the price. And as a result, people compete on price. And what they'll do is they'll slowly keep lowering their prices to win that buy box, and hence you get what's known as a price war. In a price war versus Amazon, there's a couple of things you need to consider. Now, this is what I'm going to say is about competing against Amazon themselves, not other Amazon sellers on the marketplace. And that's when you go into your view who your competition are, and then it's Amazon themselves, they are your competition. Now, a couple of things you really just want to consider is Amazon is a big machine. It's like the Matrix. It understands everything and it's got all the data. And if you want to know about that, there's a really big EU antitrust case right now whereby the EU is showing that Amazon has collected all this big data. They're making great big data mining decisions off all the information they've collected. And they do all the repricing of that and even purchasing of new stock and products and how they do it all, which us third-party sellers, we don't have. It's one of the downfalls of selling on the Amazon marketplace, but there's still lots of opportunity here. So just be aware, Amazon pretty much knows most things. And in particular around price, they know historically what it's always sold for in the past, the speed, the volumes, everything about that, times of years, and also as well, generally how much stock other competitors have bought in at any one time. And obviously they know how much stock you've got. So be very, very mindful of that. When competing against Amazon, a couple of things to consider. Amazon's algorithm for their products is basically a data-driven algorithm. What works on one product, i.e. if you do a certain tactic, may not work and is likely not to work on another product. They may be happy to drop their price on one product and on the other product they will not move at all, so you can compete against them. It does change product to product, to be very, very mindful of that. And the reason is they are so big that they cannot manually set a rule for everything. They literally have an algorithm which takes into account many, many factors, of which I don't know, but I'm guessing a lot of them will be around historic pricing, current supply, current selling price, margin, and what they're looking to do. Now, we also know through the grapevine that some other people have told us, manufacturers, that Amazon will actually be selling products at break even, if not a small loss, because what they see is that they get a lot of incremental sales on other products. So while you might see sometimes Amazon is actually selling products very, very cheaply, this could be because there is a bigger business advantage to that, which you can't compete against. So just be very mindful. Now, one top tip you really want to be looking at is, should we say, Keeper information. Keeper is a wonderful tool. It gives you another edge, which allows you to see that historic information. And if you don't know, I would seriously recommend reading Keeper charts, learning to read them. And I'll drop a free video up there of a training, 3-part training that I did that's going to really help you out understanding how to read Keeper charts and learning what you need to know. When actually competing against Amazon, if you are in a price war, i.e. their prices are going down, one thing I'd probably just recommend doing is manually taking control of your price and setting your price quite low, waiting 15 minutes, waiting for it to update on the marketplace and see if Amazon follows you down. What you're looking to do is to see how low will Amazon actually go and where will they stop following you. Once you understand the price which they stop following you at, you then know where their lower limit is. And once you understand that, you can then understand, is this a product that I want to compete on? Or do I quite simply need to just sell my products maybe at break even or even a small loss just to get out there, because Amazon is not going to share that buy box with me. Or perhaps maybe they won't go as low as you think they will, and there is still enough margin for you to win. So top tip there, slowly take control of that price, do it yourself, bring it down manually through Seller Central, wait 15 minutes for it to update live on the platform, and see what Amazon does. And if they follow you, then obviously you can learn their break-even price or their lowest price that they're going to set it to based on their current algorithm. Okay, so one question you might ask is, once you're in a price war, it's horrible and you might get out of it lucky. Hey, you might even be quite profitable and find a really winning product because you found Amazon's lower price and it works for you. Now, quick couple of tips for you. Whenever I'm selling, when I'm competing against Amazon, or should I say, when I'm competing against another seller, if it's another seller and me, I reckon if we're kind of matching, we're about similar, sales are gonna go 50-50. So they'll get 50% of sales, I'll get 50% of sales. What I generally see is, it's not always, because again, Amazon's an algorithm, I generally account for Amazon taking 66% of the sales and I will get 33. And that is where I know Amazon will share the buy box at a certain price and I will just estimate that they'll take more of the sales. Why? Because quite simply, if I'm coming in on that listing, first of all, I just want to play it safe. If maybe I do come into competition with Amazon, and then obviously going to have less risk, less exposure to them. And hey, I know a lot of sellers who won't actually even compete against Amazon on the listing, but I also know a lot of sellers who do, and they do very, very well off it. But for me, whenever I'm competing against them, I do 66% of the sales go to Amazon and I get 33%. I will kind of add, maybe if you've just started on Amazon or even you've been selling for a little while, one thing to really consider is that when competing against Amazon, you need to have really good metrics. So this is, generally speaking, you need to have fulfillment by Amazon or at least seller fulfilled Prime. Why? Because Amazon prefers its own shipping to get it to the customer quickly, rather than, should we say, merchant fulfilled. It can generally be a bit slower and obviously is not as efficient for the customer experience. And Amazon wants to encourage people to use their Prime memberships, which is a great win for Amazon. Also as well, things like seller feedback, account metrics, account health, they need to be tip top. Why? Because Amazon's own seller feedback and Amazon's own account metrics are obviously perfect because Amazon doesn't do any wrong. So for you, whenever you're competing against Amazon, just make sure you've got really good metrics because obviously it's going to take those into consideration about when giving you the buy box. And the buy box is the most important part. That is where 70 to 80% of all the sales happen on Amazon. It's going to help you obviously make sales. Okay, so maybe you're not competing against Amazon, maybe you are competing against another third-party seller, or hey, maybe a couple of third-party sellers, and right now you're seeing prices going down. So the question you might be asking is, what should you do? How can you manage this situation? So quite simply, when you're in this situation, a lot of the times other sellers will be using things, should we say, such as repricers, repricing software. Myself, I use Repricing Express, or Repricer Express, sorry. I really like it. It's an automated bit of software. What does it do? You'll basically change my price every 15 minutes based on an algorithm, based on a set of rules that I've put into place that will happen and affect my price. Now, I'm not the only person to do it. There are a lot of repricing software out there that can help you in your Amazon business to get the price where it needs to be. Why? Because you want to win the buy box, and just like you want to win the buy box, everyone else wants to win the buy box, and hey, so do I. And if everything being equal, price is a determining factor, hence a repricer. Having the correct rules, having strategies that are going to help you is super, super key. So when you're in a price war, what are the couple of things that you can do that's going to, hey, protect you or maybe support you in maintaining a margin, not selling at a loss or crashing that price down? A couple of things that a lot of people do, they will set the reprices to maybe a penny under. So you got one product maybe selling at £10 and then the other person has got a repricer where it says, take the current buy box price, £10, and set my price to be 1 penny under. Now, interesting enough, what might this person do? This person might have exactly the same. Set their buy box price to 1 penny under them. And what you can do, as you can see, they're going to just keep going down and down and down and down and down. And you see that quite often. That happens quite a bit. So a couple of top tips that you can do are, number one, don't set to a penny under price. That's quite an important thing. Match it. There isn't really any, should we say, reason to set it as a penny under, and you're only going to cause problems. What some people do also as well, they actually set it to a penny over or maybe 2p over the current price. Why? Because we've seen that you can still get sales. It isn't exactly on the penny. The buy box will still rotate around. Even if the prices aren't exactly the same, they're maybe a couple of p more expensive, that buy box will still rotate. So you can go a little bit higher. Me, for myself and my Amazon business, what do I do? Well, quite simply, I have a couple of rules that we use, but then we have one overarching rule or automation we do use in Repricer Express, whereby we will increase our price for a certain period of time whenever we detect we're in a price war, i.e. it's going down. Why? Because I'm happy to wait maybe a couple of days and then to maintain a good margin rather than have to crash my price to make sales. So top tip for you is, number one, match. If that isn't working, put it a couple of pence over. And hey, if you're running a lot of stock, use something like Repricer Express, which is going to automate it for you. Now, you might ask, what can I do if maybe I'm in price war and I need to get this stock sold, or I need to find out what's going on because, hey, I bought so much stock and I can't wait, or I'm competing against someone with a lot of stock and it's going to be months before I sell out. What other things can I do? Let's go through them now. Okay, so first things first, what I'd always recommend doing is have a look at the competitor's stock. That's a really important thing. Why? If they've got a small amount of stock and their price is lower than you, wait for them to sell out. Obviously, it's not worth it. Let them sell out. Let them win the buy box. They can sell out. And obviously you can go back up again. Once they sold out, you can put your price back up again. Now, quite simply for you is during these times, make sure you set a min and max repricer on your repricer. Obviously that's quite obvious, but you want to make sure that that is going to be keeping your business where you want it to be. Hey, sometimes it might be taking a 20% ROI. Sometimes it might just be break even. You're happy to go down that low because maybe you've got a strategy that's going to work for you. For me, in my business, we create custom rules. And not only do we have custom rules, we have automations which flick between custom rules, which support us in changing pricing strategies depending on certain market situations, such as a pricing war. This can be super helpful. Okay, so you are in a price war with a couple of other Amazon sellers. Let's just get through some really top tips that might help you. Now, these are things that I've learned from some very good sellers and also read on some forums. I'd really recommend researching. People aren't going to tell you, but if you look through the comments on a lot of groups, you will find these golden nuggets. Well, I talked about it with Amazon. How you can do with Amazon is about setting your price manually and watching it go down. So number one, when you're competing against another Amazon seller and maybe they've got a lot of stock and it's just not going to be viable for you to wait out, what you can do, turn off your repricer for that product, manually set your product price to a price pretty low and see how low that competition are going to go down. So maybe it's £20 now, set your price to 10. You only have to do it for 15 minutes just to wait to see Amazon to update and see what the competitor does. See what price the competitor comes down to and you can find out their minimum price. And once you know that, you know, is that still viable for you to sell or is it not? What you can do, maybe they're a penny under price and maybe they've got that automation. You set your price down to say £15 and they go $14.99 because hey, maybe you set it to 10 and you realize that they'll go down to 14. Maybe you set them down to 14. You set yourself at 14.01, they set at 14 and then just wait for them to sell out. And then obviously put your price back up again. You can do that. Now, another one, which I think is quite a funny tip is if someone's got a lot of stock and the price is quite competitive and it's quite low, what you can do is go to the websites whereby people share good deals. Now, we're not talking about Amazon good deals. Maybe we're talking like Hot Deals UK or maybe like Mama and Papa websites, you know, obviously depending on the nature of the product you're selling, or maybe Facebook groups where people want to buy lots of good deals and share that product as a good deal on that website. I think that's an amazing tip. It's not one that I learned, but I certainly read it on a Facebook group, and sharing that onto other websites. That is actually quite an interesting one. Are you getting normal consumers telling them of a good deal on Amazon and they're going to go buy your competitor's stock and obviously they're going to sell out and you're going to be able to buy some stock. well, then you're going to be able to put your price back to where you want it to be. And hey, maybe make a good situation out of a bad price war. So top tip there. And hey, I didn't find it. I found that on the Facebook group. So thank you for whoever shared that. Honestly, really interesting nugget. And I'll probably leave you with a final thing, just on regards to when you're in a price war, is check your prices regularly, check your competitors' stock regularly. This is all about experimentation, understanding every single product is going to be different. Why? Different competition have different rules and they might be set up differently. And obviously they can see what their minimum max prices are. So always be checking it, always be experimenting, and at the end of the day, have a clear understanding of what you're trying to achieve, which hopefully is a profitable business with good sales. Okay, so final thing, you might be asking, if you've had a price war already, how can you avoid them in future? And obviously they're not a nice situation. At the end of the day, you buy your products because you're happy with the profit and the margin you're in at the moment, but how can you prevent that in the future from happening again? A couple of things that you can look for. Number one, what I'm always looking at is that keeper chart. If it's going down, 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 and generally what you're going to see is that they're going to be competition on the buy box, and you can look at the number of sellers and actually look at who the sellers are competing. Top tip for you is have a look at their stock levels. Sometimes those sellers might just have a couple of stocks and they're going to sell out, it's not a problem. That is historically you can't see on the keeper chart, but if you can, if they've got a lot of stock and they're constantly batting it out, then it might be a product you want to avoid. Now, I'd also look at that keeper chart. Does it always go down and then back up and then down, back up? There's always competition. Sometimes that happens when there's a sale, i.e. there's no sale, the price goes up. The moment the product comes on sale and everyone buys it, the price goes down, then runs out, goes up, goes down. You might be better actually just holding your product, holding your prices. I know a couple of people who do that. It works really, really well. What you do is you don't sell the product, you just hold it when it's on sale and everyone's competing. The moment you can't buy it anymore, you now come back onto the listing, your price is competitive and you're taking advantage of the price up top. So holding your prices for when everyone runs out, that is another great thing you can do. And a lot of people make good money and actually trade that way, which works really well. Now, probably a final thing that you can think about when you are trying to buy a product and worrying about a price war is generally just looking at how much competition there is. If there's going to be more competition on a listing, generally speaking, you're more likely to see a price war. And again, looking at the keeper chart, looking at that number of new sellers going up, 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 that is going to be a good indication to say that possibly there could be a price war here. If there's always a consistently low number of sellers, less likely, but not guaranteed, to be less likely a price war. So a couple of top tips there are going to help you maybe prevent a price war in the future, seeing maybe the price war happen in the past, and help protect your margin going forward, making you more profits. Final thing which I will leave you on, and a final top tip, and probably more for seller, but obviously against Amazon as well. Don't forget to work on your metrics. Don't forget to improve your feedback scores, your, should we say, order defect rate. You know, if you're doing merchant fulfilled, you really just want to make sure your back of house metrics, account health, they're all tip top. Why? Because even if someone is cheaper than you, but they've got poor metrics, you will still win that buy box. So just be super mindful, keeping those account metrics are going to be really key for you, because hey, if maybe your account metrics aren't great and someone else's are, that could have an effect on your ability to win the buy box. And hey, maybe you're going to have to underprice them significantly to get those sales in. So work on the account metrics. What I will say is hopefully you've liked this video, give us a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. But what I will do is leave you with a video around here of some keeper training that I've done. Now, I talk a lot about keeper, everything about keeper. It's a three-part series. It's gonna really help you understanding how to read keeper, what to do competing against Amazon, exactly what we've talked through now, looking at price wars, looking at when Amazon's sharing the buy box. It's gonna help you out. So have a look at that keeper training around here. It's another YouTube video. And what I will say is from me, Thomas Parkinson, FastTrackFBA, thank you very much.